Здравствуйте, как поживаете? Меня зовут Владимир. Очень приятно здесь с вами быть. I'm just making sure you guys are awake, okay? Scared all you guys. I saw your faces. You guys are all scared. Well, thank you so much for having me here. You know, with a name like Vladimir Prokhnevskiy, everyone always expects someone to sound different, right, from another country. But instead you get me. I sound very much like you. That's because I lost my accent somewhere in East Tennessee. Anyone here from Tennessee? Not Tennesseans in here? Not in this crowd. Well, if you're ever in Tennessee and you find my accent, just keep it. It wasn't that good anyway. You know, in Tennessee, they called me, see if I get this right, they called me Vladimir. They would say, Vladimir, boy, you ain't from around here. I'm like, nope, not from around here. But you know, anyone here 9 years old? I want to see some 9-year-olds. Okay. All right, a lot of you guys. Well, when I was 9 years old, I received a shoebox. So, like you guys, I was 9 years old, and I come from a family of 9 kids. Can you imagine? Anyone here from a family of 9? Curious. Last time we had a couple? 9 or more? Anybody? Anybody got me beat? How many kids? Who's got close? 11. Okay, so we got a winner. 11. Wow. That's like a soccer. Wow. Oh my gosh. You know, that's awesome. Well, I come from a family of 9 kids, and my father was, check this out, my father was an underground pastor in my country. You know what that means? That means that my father, because where we lived at the time, the country that we lived in, that did not allow us to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with everyone. So can you imagine having to go to church and then hide somewhere, or having to meet in the woods for church service because it was too dangerous to meet in public? So that's what my father would do. He pastored a church in the middle of the woods. Sometimes they would meet in different houses at night so nobody would find them, and then they would slowly leave quietly so nobody would catch them. But sometimes they would catch them and they would arrest them and put them in jails. So that's what my father did. He risked his life preaching the gospel on the streets of Kiev, because it was so important, because we carry light. And when we share the gospel, when we, you know, God is light and God is love. And in that country where there's no Jesus, where there's no love, there's a lot of darkness. And when we go and we share the gospel, we share that light. And light exposes darkness. That's why we were persecuted, because they did not want the light, because corruption wants to hide, right? They want to hide in the darkness. But what happens when, imagine a dark room, right? What happens to a dark room when light comes on? All the darkness has to go, right? That's what happens when you share the gospel in darkness. It shines very bright. And so, because my father was a Christian, he was hindered from advancing in society. So they did not let him to get good jobs, to go to good schools. So my father had to settle for less. And because of that, my father didn't have much money to work with, because he couldn't just start a business of his own. They wouldn't allow him. So we didn't have much money to work with. And so that led to us having to take turns to go outside to play, because we only had so many pairs of shoes. Can you imagine having to go outside to play, or having to wait because your brother or sister is outside playing, and that's the only pair of shoes you have? And then my brother would come back and I would take his shoes, then I would go play. But it didn't stop there. We also had to share toothbrushes. I know, isn't that disgusting? I imagine how I feel. I'm the one that had to share one, right? So I would brush my teeth, I would give my toothbrush to my mom, and then my mom, she would take the toothbrush and she would wash it with hot water and soap. She'd wash it really good, and then she'd give it to my brother or sister. So that's what we had to do. And as for toys, we didn't have a lot of toys like most of you guys have, so we had to get creative. We would go outside and we would find Coca-Cola caps. You know, when you take a bottle, you take the cap off? Yeah. Well, we would find 2 bottles, we'd take the caps off, and we would flip them when they were put them flat against each other. We would drill a little hole through the middle, and then we would find like a little match or a stick to put through, and then some strings. And guess what we made? We made yo-yos out of Coca-Cola bottle caps. And then we would also, so I challenge you to do this. If you should try to make a yo-yo out of caps. But we would take it a step further. We would take the cap off, and then there was a plastic ring that sealed the cap. And when you take that plastic ring off, back in the day, those rings, they had little like plastic teeth that prevented the cap from moving around. But we would invert it, would flip it, and so it had like little spikes, and then we'd put them on the ends of the Coca-Cola caps. So our yo-yo had little spikes. And so when the yo-yo was spinning really, really, really fast, it was like a saw. It would cut through grass and paper. It was really cool, really cool. You guys should try it one day. It's really sweet. And then we would also take pieces of paper because we didn't have cars or anything that we could play with, we found pieces of paper and we would draw little roads on it. We'd create like a little map, right? With white streets. And then another piece of paper, we would draw little cars that were proportional to the map. And we would cut them out. And so we drove on top of that map. It was like Google Map bird's eye view. It's really sweet. You should try. To this day, I have 2 boys, 3 and 6 years old, and that's what we do. We make little roads. And now we color the roads and the houses, and we make houses in 3D. It's really sweet. You should try it. And as for food, we pretty much grew up on the rice and potatoes. That's all we had to eat all the time. No McDonald's, no Chick-fil-A, none of that stuff, right? We had to just eat rice and potatoes every single day. So I guess we were vegetarians before it was even cool, right? And we grew up in a tiny 3-bedroom apartment, just tiny 3-bedroom apartment with barely any heating and cooling. There were 11 people living in that place. And we didn't have a washer and a dryer, so we had to do all the laundry by hand. My mom had to do all the laundry by hand. Because of the amount of laundry that my mom did, her skin would often crack and bleed, and Mom, she would stay up all night, and she would make socks and underwear for us, because she couldn't afford just buying socks and underwear for us. So what she would do, she was very creative, just like us. She would find old sweaters, and she would make socks, really warm socks, out of old sweaters. She would make, like, let's say pants have holes in them or something, she would convert them to shorts. Just very creative. And so we grew up very poor on the inside. And then on the outside, we were persecuted for our faith, but that's when we were invited to come to a Christmas celebration. And they told us that we'll get a gift. And I was so excited because I never had a gift before. And finally, when we pulled up, we had to get, this was in the middle of cold Ukrainian winter, and Ukrainian winters are cold. We had snow to like this much snow, right, all the way up. I know you're in Charleston, you don't get any snow, but where I come from, there's a lot of snow. We had to walk in snow for a long time, and we were lightly dressed because we couldn't afford warm clothes. Then we had to stay in line to get on the bus and then on the tram just to get there. And when we finally pulled up to this location, I was walking in with this girl from my class. And I recognized her, and I was surprised to see her there because this girl, I knew for a fact she was not a believer. And I thought that this was only for Christians. But I was way wrong because this place was filled with people from all walks of life, people that never heard of the gospel. And when we walked in, it's like we went from this black and white, gray Ukrainian winter to a colorful, warm room, and there was so much laughter. They gave us juices and snacks I've never had before. It was really cool. The first time I tried fruit punch, it was really awesome. But most importantly, they presented the gospel to us in so many different, unique ways through singing, dancing, cartoons, movies, animations, flannel boards. I mean, it was like the gospel came alive. It was really sweet. And then they brought out these beautiful, colorful shoeboxes like this one. And when I opened my shoebox, it was really cool. Because remember, I made things from scratch, right? But this time I had my own yo-yo. I didn't have to make one out of Coca-Cola caps anymore. And my yo-yo was so colorful, so cool. I had my own Hot Wheel cars. How many of you have Hot Wheel cars? That was for the first time. I didn't have to play with my shoes, pretend they were cars anymore. I had my own toothbrush. And not only that, but my toothbrush was like, it was like a rock star toothbrush. It had so much color and personality, the way it was designed. No one in my city had anything like it. It was the coolest. It's like the one to rule them all. I also had this bar of soap, and I've never seen anything like it. It was like the whitest white I've ever seen. It was so slick. The way it was designed, it had a nice curve to it. It smelled so good. It had a print of the dove on top. It was like the Holy Spirit in the box, right? The whole box smelled like the soap. It sanctified my box. I also had school supplies, and check this out. So, how many of you have school supplies? That's awesome. When I was your age, I didn't have school supplies, and I was too embarrassed to tell my teacher that I didn't have it because we couldn't afford it. My parents didn't have enough money to buy us school supplies. So what I did was, I'm very ashamed of that. I lied to my teacher. I told her that I forgot my school supplies at home, and she would make me get up in front of the whole class, and she would just pretty much ridicule me in front of the whole class. She would say some hurtful things. They would say things like, why can't you be responsible? And she would make me walk around and ask all of my classmates for a pen and paper. It was humiliating. And my classmates would roll their eyes because this is not the first time it happened. And so it did not feel good. But when I got my school supplies, I felt special. I felt like a child, and my school supplies were from another country. They were so cool. They were from America. No one had anything like it. And everyone always wants to know, like, what's that one favorite item that you got out of your shoebox? And for example, for my sister Nadia, when she was using her shoebox, she got a Barbie. And in the 90s, like back when from old days, there was only one girl in the neighborhood who had a Barbie. So we lived in a big city, 10-story building. We lived on the 5th floor, and there was only one girl who had a Barbie. And this girl, her mom was afraid that this Barbie would get stolen or broken or lost because it was a very expensive toy back then. And so she would not let her take this Barbie outside because she was afraid that it would get stolen, broken, or lost. And what this girl did was interesting. She would get on her balcony, and all the little girls would line up. Can you imagine all the little girls lining up, and she would show this Barbie to all the little girls in the neighborhood. It's like a scene from Romeo and Juliet, right? And so when my sister got a shoebox and she got the Barbie, she made sure that all the girls in the neighborhood got to take this Barbie home at least once. Isn't that cool? And to this day, this Barbie is still blessing somebody somewhere in Ukraine, because when we moved several years ago, we gave this Barbie to another family, and that family gave it to another family, and so 20 years later, this Barbie is still making some girl somewhere happy. You might be missing some parts, but it's still blessing somebody somewhere. So your gifts go further than you think. So all that to say that my favorite or most memorable item is this thing right here. Who can tell me what it is? So just yell it out. What is it? Floss. Floss. Dental floss, right? Well, I got it, and I was 9 years old. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't know what it was. I opened it. It smelled really good. It was minty. I tasted it. Tasted decent. I thought it was candy. I really did. I thought it was candy. I was licking it. I just thought it was some kind of interesting diet American candy or something. And I got a lot of it all together in one ball, and I popped it in my mouth like it was a mint. And my mouth was so numb from all the mint. It's just like, when you go to the dentist appointment, your mouth was all numb. That's how it felt. And I remember thinking, you guys have some crazy candy in America. Like, what is this thing? And then there was this guy who came over. He was from another country. He didn't speak my language, or he barely spoke my language. He tried to explain to me that, he said, look, this is not what you think it is. This is not candy. And he went like this. And what I got out of it is that it's like a toothbrush substitute, right? And I remember thinking, this is silly. How is this effective, right? How are you supposed to brush your teeth with a string, right? I didn't know that you're supposed to floss between your teeth. I just thought you're supposed to brush it like this. And I just remember thinking, this is crazy. Like, this is not effective at all. Toothbrush, okay, again, it's effective. But how is this string, how is this effective? But I remember witnessing beautiful, perfect American smiles that evening. And I remember thinking, well, clearly it's working for them. It must be some kind of new technology that I'm not aware of, right? And it wasn't until many years later when we finally moved to the United States, and we were at our first dentist appointment, and I'll never forget this. The dentist was trying to show us what it was really for, and let's just say it felt pretty silly, right? I remember thinking, that's what it's for. Wow, okay, makes sense. So when you pack your shoe boxes, make sure to throw one of these things in, just to confuse a child or two. It's good for them, right? It builds character. It won't hurt anybody. But over the years, I forgot a lot of details about this box, but I never forgot how it made me feel. Kids on the receiving end, they feel that same love that you pack them with, right? All the favorite things that you pack, and then when you pray over these boxes, you release. Prayer is like the most important thing, because it's like it seals the deal. You pray over it, it's like it carries this love of Jesus in this box. And children, by just opening the box and touching, they feel that same love, right? And I always say that God is love. When you show love to people, you show God to people. And when people experience love, they experience God. And once they experience that God's unconditional love, they will not walk away unchanged. And that's what you guys get to be a part of when you pack a shoebox.